welcome back to my kitchen. I'm super excited because I'm gonna be making cinnamon rolls today. I've made this recipe once before. It's gonna be Tasty's recipe, and I'm gonna use it to the T. No variations except for you'll see. But I just want to come up here, show you my journey, let you know that you can do this recipe. It just takes a minute to do. So since we're gonna be here all day, let's just get into it. I'm excited. We're gonna be here all day. All right, so first things first is proofing the yeast. So we're gonna take 2 cups of whole warm milk, and then we're gonna take a half a cup of granulated sugar and a half a cup of unsalted butter. Then we're gonna add in 1 packet of active dry yeast, sprinkle it on top, give it a good mix, and then we're gonna let this sit for about 10 or so minutes until the yeast starts to bubble. Okay, trial and error. At the first solution, my yeast didn't proof. And once it just doesn't proof at all, you just gotta throw it out. So I threw it out, started over. It was because my milk wasn't warm enough. If you have a thermometer, I would recommend putting your thermometer in there and letting it get to at least 100 degrees. For measure, I had put it in the microwave for about 2 minutes and 15 seconds in 1 minute intervals. And I brought it upstairs because up here, I'm sweating a little bit. Upstairs is a little warmer, a little bit more moist. So let me show you. So this is what it should look like if the yeast is active and alive. It's going to be a bit bubbly and it's going to be a bit foamy. And then once it gets to this state, we're going to add in our flour. So it's going to be 4 cups of all-purpose flour. Mix it on in good. And then we're going to let this rise for about an hour. So I'm going to put some saran wrap on top, put it to the side in a nice warm place, and let it rise. And then while we do that, we're going to grab 1.5 cups of brown sugar because we are going to start on our cinnamon sugar mix. So to the sugar, I'm going to add in 3 whole sticks of softened unsalted butter, 4 tablespoons of ground cinnamon. And I don't know what it is, but with this recipe, for some reason, I always feel like I need more filling. So when you go to Tasty's website, you're going to see half of this. I just doubled it. That's all. So about an hour or so has passed, and the next steps are to add in the rest of the dry ingredients. So a cup of flour, a teaspoon of baking powder, 2 teaspoons of salt. Now this is where we get into the good stuff, okay? So we're going to fold in the rest of the dry ingredients just until everything gets nice and incorporated. We're going to take the dough out the bowl, and we're going to knead it. I love this so much. I feel like ratatouille. Now, the trick here for the dough, so that it doesn't get too sticky, you're going to keep on adding flour occasionally, just until it doesn't stick to your hands. But you also don't want to add in too much flour, because then you don't want your dough to get rough and hard. My safe measure is just keep on adding flour just until it doesn't stick to my hands anymore. Tasty says the dough is good to go once you poke a little hole in the dough and it bounces right back on up. Now, to work on the shaping of the dough. So to prep, I'm going to sprinkle a little flour on the countertop, and then I'm going to very gently stretch out the dough just so that it's easier to roll out. Then I'm going to use a rolling pin. I'm going to sprinkle a little flour so that nothing sticks to it. I'm going to roll it out into a nice rectangle, and then I'm just going to use my hands to kind of shape it into a rectangle shape. It doesn't have to be too perfect at all, but try to get it as rectangle as possible. Then the next thing is to spread out the filling onto the dough. Literally as simple as it sounds. Just plop it on down, spread it on out. And we're going to roll up our dough. I don't know if you've ever rolled up a gym mat, maybe even a yoga mat. Just make sure you're tight, but also be gentle. You don't want to have to do all that work and then we mess up our dough. So just roll it on up until it's in a nice little spiral. Now this little trick from Tasty is absolutely genius. It's using floss to cut your dough. I know, who would have thought? Who would have thought? But it's super simple. You just take the floss, place it under the dough, and then just kind of put one string on top of the other, pull it over, and it slices your dough. And then I just went ahead and buttered my pans, set the oven on 350, and then while the oven is preheating, you are going to let the cinnamon rolls proof in the pan. So just put a little towel over them and put it on the side for about 30 to 45 minutes. I know, we're getting close to the finish line though, just a little patience. And then once your cinnamon rolls have risen, you're gonna put them in the oven for about 25 minutes. And then the very last thing, the icing. Now here's where I did my little variation that I had mentioned earlier. I wanted my icing to be a little bit more thicker. So these are the ingredients I used. I used 1 cup of powdered sugar, 2 tablespoons of salted butter, not completely melted though, just a little bit melted, a little bit soft, 6 ounces of cream cheese, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and 1 tablespoon of milk. And then look, just look how thick and delicious this icing looks. I'm like having flashbacks. Oh my goodness. Okay, so anyways, now that the cinnamon rolls are done, they've been in the oven for about 25 minutes. We're gonna take them out, let them cool for about 10 to 15 minutes before we place the icing on top. And then last but not least, we made it. We're just gonna spread the icing over on top of our cinnamon rolls, and that is it, y'all. That is our homemade cinnamon rolls from scratch. I know the process is long, so long, but it's completely worth it in the end, I promise. I remember taking my first bite of this, okay, and I laughed. That's all I could do. I could just laugh because they were just so good. So let me know if you try it. You definitely should try it. And if you do try it, let me know. But please take care of yourselves, and I'll see you guys next time.